If you want to start on the banks of the Three Rivers, so be it. It is the centerpiece, it feels like, to some degree, of week 7 because of the big names involved in it. If you missed it somehow, Mike Tomlin attempted, as far as I can read, to tell the press in his Tuesday get together that he doesn't know what's going to happen other than that Russ is going to get first team reps and he's going to roll the ball out there, and Russ and Fields will figure it out by the quality of their practice play and all of that. The only problem with that is that Tom Pelissero, before that press conference could even start, announced sources indicate that Russ is in line to start. My hypothesis on that is that Russ, who is well known to work closely with his PR team, and they are a very active group, as far as I can tell. Tomlin told Russ, "You're the starter." Russ told his PR people. The PR people told Pelissero. Pelissero told the world. And then Tomlin went to the podium and said, like, we'll have to see how this all shakes out. It's like, hey, coach, the QB already told the world. He went back channel and did everything, which is ironic, given that the reason largely that they had to go and get Russ was that Tomlin was dissatisfied with the immaturity of the QB room last year, specifically Kenny Pickett, who, when things didn't break the way Pickett wanted to, back channeled to his old pal in New Jersey and complained. And then the whole thing blew up from there. And this motivated Tomlin to get a grown up in the room to show comportment rules, not just Sunday football, but week to week, day to day, and all the rest of it. And so here we are, the guy who was supposed to solve all that, back channeling and kind of blowing up something that Tomlin was trying to do this week to, I don't know, to create smoke and mirrors for the Jets in preparation. You don't know who you're going to get, so prepare for both of them. Anyhow,
which shitty quarterback are we preparing for? Oh my God, I don't know. What do we do?
Right.
It could be that
6
shitty
of one,
quarterback,
half dozen
or
of the other.
Shitty quarterback. I don't know.
I completely agree. I don't get swapping out a guy at 4-2. It definitely goes against every philosophy that Tomlin has said from that podium for years on end. I'm judged by my wins and losses and everything else. Well, you're 4-2, coach. So, all right, here we are. That's the setup. Now, Davante Adams with his old pal Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, apparently set to start this one for the home team. Sunday Night Football, Jets at Steelers, the home team +2 at the time of this recording. 38 is your total here. I'm going with the Jets, 22-19. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets get them by double digits here. I think the second half, Rodgers will drop a touchdown pass or two on the Steelers defense to open that one up. The thing that's weird about the Jets and how to read them at this point at 2-4, obviously they're not a gangbusters team. Davante Adams elevates them. The defense is playing well. The offense really hasn't gotten on track quite yet. And it does feel like, as you come off of the Monday night game against the Bills, that you could point at it and say, like, well, listen, Zerline missed 2 field goals. What are you going to do? They still should have won that game. But also, the margin is tighter because Aaron Rodgers throws that spectacular Hail Mary, and it was spectacular. I don't know how watching that play felt like a dime. It's a Hail Mary by definition. It's a fluke if it's caught, but it seemed pinpoint accurate. So I don't know what to make of how Aaron Rodgers is playing, how that offense is playing. It seems like they should be able to grind you a little bit more with Breece Hall, and maybe that will be the result finally with yet another pass catcher to worry about. Rodgers, like I say, 2 touchdown passes is the play, and Breece Hall over 70 rush yards. That pays out at +145 and a Jets victory. Hench, how say you?
Well, your story about the Palace intrigue with the Steelers reminded me of All the President's Men, where the Washington Post leaked that LBJ was going to fire J. Edgar Hoover, and he was so pissed about the leak that he appointed J. Edgar Hoover for life to show the Washington Post.
I wonder if that would happen. I know what you're leading to, and that would be a hysterical curveball. Be like, oh yeah, it is Justin Fields.
Yeah, if Tomlin was going to follow LBJ's lead, I hope I have that story right. It's topical. If Tomlin was going to follow his lead, he would cut Russell Wilson. All right. Hey, stop having your publicist yap to the press. But anyway, so It doesn't matter which crappy quarterback starts for the Steelers. First of all, has a 4-2 team at home ever been receiving points against a 2-4 team? This
Great
feels
question.
unprecedented. The time I bet Breece Hall's over rushing yards, he had 10 carries for 4 yards. I thought the offense looked much better. I don't know what Hackett was doing wrong, but Breece Hall was getting into some space. Obviously, Garrett Wilson is a spectacular number 2 receiver. I think we all agree with that. If he's your number 2 guy, he's awesome. And so, the Jets have no excuses now. And I agree with you. I think their role starts this week. I have them winning 24-16. Yes, Joey Porter Jr. can only cover one of them, so I think the Steelers are in trouble. Spaghetti, how we doing on time?
I know that. Well, listen, this was girthy, but you wanted to tackle this one coming out of the gate. The only thing I'll say before Spaghetti gives his final score here is that this all amounts to being very, very funny if the Jets would lose this game. They had to have the sequence of events. We lost over. Got to fire Saleh. Okay, lost to the Bills. All right, got to get Devontae Adams. What then if they drop to 2-5, losing to Russell Wilson and or Justin Fields? I mean, then the season does
Greg
feel
Zuerlein has to be happy that Rodgers was more angry with Mike Williams, or he would have fired him.
That's a good point. Yeah, Zuerlein must be like, phew. Anyway, Spaghetti, how say you?
Well, I'm going to side with the Antichrist here. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. I'm picking them.
We all did, Spaghetti.
I know, but I bet you
Three-car
guys,
garage, man.
but he's the villain. I got to support him, and I don't have a problem with a quarterback calling out Mike Williams. Look, that Monday Night Football game was the worst football game I've watched in probably ever, or if not quite some time, with the referee just being involved so heavily. It was brutal. Obviously, the win in MetLife was terrible. It swirls near that one end zone. That's why Zerline missed those 2 field goals. And in fairness, I know the Bills did miss an extra point and a field goal as well. But Mike Williams being in a crucial point in the Vikings game, that loss, and then doing it again this game. I mean, Rodgers clearly has the arm. I just feel like there's just no chemistry with Mike Williams, who came in injured. Obviously, players don't play in the preseason. There's no chemistry there. So I can understand why he's angry. We've seen Peyton Manning be angry at players and call out guys, get caught on like the hot mic. We've seen Tom Brady chew out guys on the sideline. I don't have a problem with a quarterback demanding excellence because Rodgers has been bringing it this whole entire season. I am disappointed with the play of the Jets secondary. They were sloppy, too many DPIs in that game. And I think Quentin Williams hasn't really made the impact you're usually used to seeing. The difference in this game to me is why I have and I tweeted about this, the Steelers, who I've been high on, switching from Justin Fields, who has impressed me. The reason why the Jets lost to the Bills was because of the mobility of Josh Allen. Josh Allen's ability to extend plays and create plays. He slipped through that D line and he just either ran or he found a guy open. Justin Fields can do that. Russell Wilson can no longer do that. Now, I was pro Russell Wilson. If he came in this season healthy and practiced with the team, I would feel more comfortable about it. Putting him versus this Jets team in the middle of the season, I know he's at home, but I don't think Justin Fields played poorly enough to be benched. I think he's really exceeded expectations here, and I think his mobility is the reason why the Steelers will lose this game because they no longer have that option. I think it will be close, but I am going to go with the Jets here, even laying the 2 points.
Well, yeah, as Hench says there, 3-car garage. You know what? Executive decision. I'm making it right here. We're going to carve this out from the 15 minutes because this is too, like I say, girthy a conversation about the one game, and then we'll move on to the other games that we have slotted to pick here. But yeah, 4-2 quarterback.
If we're extending this conversation to make it a separate thing, because Spaghetti really touched on something like this new thing. I mean, obviously, the referees are bad, and so it was Henry David Thoreau who said that government is best which governs least. And I've paraphrased it to say, like, that religion is best, which religion's least. So, like, hey, just you do you and don't religion so much in my direction. Hey, government, you do you. You don't need to government so much in my direction. And I would say the same thing about referees. Those referees are best that referee least. So this fucking epidemic of we're just going to throw a flag on every play and then we're going to have a coffee klatch about it. Like, hey, man, yeah, I threw the flag. Ah, we're being told from upstairs that guy wasn't downfield. Like these chicken shit illegal man downfield calls, like that guy who had nothing to do with the play. Remember for the first.
That's the standard.
Mhm.
I have to say, to me, you talk about the religion for the official is like, but I saw something imperfect from that player and I must throw the flag. It's like, did it impact the outcome of the play? Then eat the flag, man. That's to me the standard that removes at least some of this because it is a plague. I mean, it's got to be awful for Kamish Goodell if he's sitting wherever he is in his throne watching this, thinking like this is just a bad product. I mean, this is should be an electric game by two of the biggest stars we have going here, and it's just all obscured by the yellow flags all night long. It was
Yeah,
really
and then it's like,
really atrocious.
so it's also like, okay, two guys in motion, one guy got set, the other guy got set for 3/4 of a second, not a full second. Like, what are we doing? He's 50 yards from the play, and Metcalf's touchdown gets called back, and I lose my fantasy game as a result. But so it used to be for 50 years of watching football, when that near side line judge at the bottom of your TV screen threw their flag in the air, it was offsides. It was just that was what you just knew it was offside. You're like, okay, somebody lined up in the neutral zone. I'd love to see the stats now because I think it's gone the other way. Now it's up left tackles half an inch off, too far off the line, or someone's covered or someone leaked out downfield. Like that line judge is now calling formation penalties, movement penalties, illegal man downfield penalties. And it's like, again, if you gained an advantage as a result of breaking the letter of the law, fine. If you gain no advantage and it's just a fat guy alone 2.5 yards downfield, just eat that fucking flag. And by the way, also in that Jets Bills game, on the Garrett Wilson touchdown, like we're watching on TV and we're like, I think he dotted both those. Like that's a touchdown.
That was a wild call by that guy 5 feet away.
Back judge had a bad angle. He's 4 inches from Garrett Williams' feet. Like he's almost standing on Garrett Williams. Like Wilson, sorry. Like, so you're okay. You're looking at his feet. And that's why when he called it, you're like, oh, he couldn't have a better position. This guy's obviously airborne. It must be an optical illusion that we think he got both feet down. Nope. The guy whose one job it is to see if this guy's in bounds, and he's standing right there, gacks it. And again, for most of our lives, sorry, that's it. That's just, there's nothing we can do. Now, thank God, the booth can go, that call was so egregious and so obvious, we don't have to make it incumbent on the team to risk a timeout to challenge it. We're just going to tell you, hey, guy, and maybe that back judge wasn't one of the guys that threw 50 flags in that game, but he did blow his one big moment. He did Angel Hernandez his one call. Like, okay, 2 feet and a knee. Like, he's completely in bounds. You gacked this so horribly anyway. So thank you, Shek, for the executive decision.
It does bring us all together, though. That right? In this fraught time for our society, what we all rally behind, whether you're on the Bills or the Jets or a Rodgers supporter or a hater or otherwise, we all come together on like one thing we got to change is this refereeing because this can't stand. This is terrible how it's ruining our favorite thing.
Really. Joe Buck turned into Al Michaels.
Yeah, Al Michaels.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's right. It's exactly what he did.
Quarter. It's like he's got a private jet to catch. Real quick, Shek. This will kumbaya. It'll round everything off in this. Yeah. I guess this special Aaron Rodgers, Jets, Steelers, Devontae Adams episode.
A lot to talk about with this.
But listen, I will credit Aaron Rodgers with this. He did say the roughing call that he received was bullshit too. That was ballsy. You don't hear that very often, where a guy says that call that benefited our team, that sucked. So I did appreciate that level of candor. It is, I guess what I'm saying is I like it when Aaron Rodgers is being a smug prick about people I also can't stand.
There you go. Say again. See, we're finding those areas of agreement. Listen, I have always loved, and he really has perfected, dropping that sidearm down in the pocket and delivering a strike to in breakers. I mean, he dime after dime, and let alone the deep shots. And the thing that he doesn't get celebrated for, I feel like over the course of his career, is that you can go back and point to as his toughness, man. He gets lit up and he gets back up and stays in the game and limps around. And, the 2014 NFC title game is the one I will always point to as the worst loss if you were a Packers fan that day. But man, sure wasn't 12's fault. He was out there on one leg against the defending NFC champs and just about pulled it out, if not for
and listen,
7 plays that went against him in the second half.
And this is why he's the 26th rated quarterback in the NFL and moving up fast on Gardner Minshew and Andy Dalton.
Well, here's the thing I'll say about it is because I get a lot of those tweets, and I'm not going to say who among this trio says, like, you don't like him because of politics, but properly, I don't mean
that's where it started.
Words.
Not you, just everyone, because he wouldn't be vilified the way he is since 2020.
I don't mean to parse your words, but it's not a political standpoint. It's the thing I resent is just for the record, because I do hear about this a lot. Like, you don't like him because of I couldn't even really tell you what his politics are exactly.
Neither could he.
Right. I think that's kind of true. I think what it is this thing of, and I always talk about the Daniel Day-Lewis thing of, like, why do I have to do press for my multi-million-dollar movies that I am the star of? It's like, because that's part of it, man. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Like, in a different way, this is almost extra from Aaron Rodgers. He didn't have to put himself out there to share his views on vaccines and all of that kind of stuff, but he chose to. And if you're allowed to do that, as our nation allows you to legally, people are allowed to push back at your thoughts. And the thing I really resent is the positioning of this. I'm a victim because you guys are coming at me for my views. And he's because he's this fearless truth teller. He's sticking it to big pharma, except that he's taking millions and millions of dollars from big pharma, Woody Johnson. So you're not really courageous at all. You're not really standing up for what you believe in. And in fact, when push comes to shove, you'll say, like, wasn't my call what happened with Bob Saleh. That was Woody. He didn't have to tell me what he was doing. Like, you didn't tell Woody that you would like Devontae Adams or Joe or otherwise. That's the hypocrisy.
But he gets exponentially more hate for stuff that's pretty benign in my eyes compared to other NFL players and other NFL quarterbacks
he's not
who
a
have
felon.
committed. So that to me is the issue with it. It's like, oh, he goes on McAfee, eye roll. Oh, him and McAfee, sick of them. Like, this is why athletes don't share their opinions on anything, because, like, they just get crushed. And, like, Aaron Rodgers opens up, for better or for worse. I'm not saying I agree with him for what all things he says, but, like, we beg athletes to give us, like, a crumb of something, and then he does. And the shift in how he's been covered from 2020 and beyond has been insane. And, like, even, like, I'm shocked the New York media, like, WFAN host crushing him. Like, you're a Jets fan. The Jets are a sorry franchise, and you're begging for a quarterback this good, and now everything that goes wrong is on him when he's playing well. His arm looks great. Like, I just feel like we've kind of, like, lost our minds because we're so online. And, like, Deshaun Watson, multiple extra allegations have come out, and then there's been way less coverage of him. And it's like,
I don't think that's true. They're way worse. I don't think that's one's in New York,
we'll
so obviously
Deshaun in a bit. But the funny thing is that Rodgers, the Jets were hopeless, as we all know, and now they're 2-4.
That's why it's funny. But I do think it all amounts to, and I certainly, as somebody who, I don't know if I've mentioned it or if you can tell for the viewer that I root for black and gold teams, I'm certainly hoping Russell Wilson, I don't care if it's a 3-2 win or if it's 71-70, I hope they win the game. And beyond that, if this Jets team as constituted falls to 2-5, I think that's something we can all laugh
just
on.
To speak to Spaghetti's Rodgers derangement syndrome, which I definitely suffer from. And the reason I know I suffer from Rodgers derangement syndrome is I bet on the Jets against the Bills. I picked the Jets on this podcast against the Bills. I needed the Jets to win that game or lose by less than 2.5 in our picks league. and I was rooting against them. I was like, I'm sitting there like going, oh my God, Zerline hit the upright. I was delighted. I'm like, wow, my Rogers derangement syndrome is so far off the charts. I'm losing money with each doink off the upright, and I'm laughing. Like that's Spaghetti's not wrong that we have lost our minds. I will say this. The pharmacological industrial complex is evil. And,
that is true. You're right about that.
So, I don't know what you do in a once in a century pandemic. Obviously, you have to lean on those people to try to save the day, but he's not wrong about that. Anyway, I'm sure that's why.
Agree with what both of you guys are mostly saying. The other side of it very quickly is just to talk about it for the umpteenth time. In success, what does Russell Wilson get you if they go 11-6? Then it deepens the likelihood that you have to bring back 37-year-old Russell Wilson. And if you want to win the Super Bowl, which is what the Steelers and the other 31 teams are all about, but particularly the Steelers, the way they set themselves up year to year is like, this should be in pursuit of the Lombardi, or what's the point kind of vibe. And if that's what you're looking to do, there are only three guys, Elway, Peyton, and Brady, who have won a Super Bowl this late in terms of human age and this deep into their career. The numbers are pretty small that you win a Super Bowl this deep into your career if you're Russell Wilson. And by keeping Russell Wilson, it increases the likelihood that somebody else steps up and takes Justin Fields away. And then where does that leave you? As the Steelers, I don't know if Justin Fields is ultimately, based on what I've seen over 6 weeks, is the long-term answer any more than Russ is, but at least there's a chance that he can continue to improve. Listen, I watched the Dallas game, I watched the Colts game, and I watched the most recent game, and Fields, it's not the inaccuracy so much as there are guys open in Arthur Smith's offense that he's just plain not seeing. The issue is, what makes you think Russell Wilson is going to ID those guys and get the ball out quickly enough to take advantage of that? There's no evidence in his career that that's who he is. Just because you want him to be that, you want him to be what you see 40-year-old Joe Flacco doing. Ball hits his hands, and an instant later, the ball's right back out. Classic point guard John Stockton kind of stuff. Problem is, that's not who Russell Wilson has ever been in his career. And he's going to try to run around as he always does. He'll hold on to the ball a little bit too long. He's going to give you what Justin Fields gives you. That's my expectation, at least. Happy to be proven wrong. Let's see how it all shakes out.